Welcome.
Welcome. This is episode 9 of Must Love,
The podcast.
And I'm Hannah.
I'm Molly.
And we're the co-founders of Must Love. And we make delicious dairy-free ice cream. And these are discontinued flavors, which we use for cups. But
And so we have a little toast.
Cheers.
We make non-dairy ice cream pints and then novelty bars, which the packaging is up here. We also make sprinkles, plant-based sprinkles. And we're sold in Sprouts Farmers Markets and other grocery stores. So you can check us out at must.love.
Yes, but today we thought it would be fun to talk about packaging because people always ask us about how we did our packaging design. And, we've been through multiple iterations and redesigns at this point, but actually the very, very, very first version of what we put out on shelf,
Hannah designed, and it was very cute.
It was very cute.
Oh, I have it at my house.
Me
I should
too.
have brought it.
Yeah, but it is very DIY. Like you could tell this was not a professional designer who did this, but it did have its own charm. Jinx. But since then, we've moved on to like more and more professional looking packaging, and people are, I think, especially if you're new to packaged food industry, you're curious how you do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There are all these notifications on
Just
the TikTok
don't look
Live,
at it.
and it's really distracting, and I have no idea what's happening.
Don't look at
Okay.
it. Just look at that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Those of you who
It's
are
like stressing
listening,
me out.
we're trying to do we're trying to do live versions too, and so you're getting all of it. So anyway, we can get started with talking about what are the elements of package design.
Yeah, and it's timely because we're doing it right now for a new product launch, which we will be very excited to share with you when we're ready. But the look and feel and the brand personality of your product, that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. Like if you want it to be really serious and premium, or if you want it to be really playful and approachable, which is the end that we play in, that's something you set as kind of your brand personality.
And that should be seen in all elements of your marketing and anywhere someone interacts with your brand, including your packaging.
Exactly.
But that's like the vibe of your brand.
Exactly. So that's one part of packaging design, and that's like brand strategy and all those things. But the other really big part of it, which is it's the really serious part, it's a little bit boring and technical, but it's very, very important, is the messaging hierarchy. So even if you're doing it yourself, but especially if you're hiring an agency or a designer to do it, you really need to get your messaging hierarchy down really tight Go ahead.
Yeah, that's kind of the feedback or the first thing you even give an agency.
Mm-hmm.
They'll ask for your hierarchy to understand what's most important that you want to get across at first glance on your packaging.
Yeah. And this is also our opinion, right, on what is the most important for packaged food companies to put on their hierarchy.
It'll be totally up to what you want for your particular product.
Yeah, and it depends on what your category is, because if you sell like ice cream like we do, or if you sell alcohol, or I don't know, candy, or every little different type of food item, every category is different, and the dynamics are different, and what people look for in that category are different. So it might change, but I think no matter what category you play in, the number one thing on the hierarchy should be your brand, because we're all trying to build like branded products. Otherwise, what are you trying to build? Like, you might as well be a private label, like grocery store brand. That's what I think anyway.
Yeah, I think that's generally what people try to do as their number one is brand.
Although,
traditionally.
There are always, different ways to break rules, right? But then after that, it really depends on your category. So our experience is really going to come from frozen desserts. It says lost connection. This is very distracting. But our experience is going to come from non-dairy desserts. And so the first thing after brand, so number 2 in the hierarchy for me would really be flavor.
Mm-hmm. And that I think is specific also for ice cream, because ice cream is a very flavor driven category.
Mm-hmm.
Like and this should kind of match how you shop that particular aisle. Like a lot of times when you're buying ice cream, you generally know what ice cream brand you really like, and then you're immediately going for what flavor you're choosing, right?
Yeah. And even if you're going to try something else, like you need to know, like you love chocolate or you love vanilla, right? So you're going to be looking for your flavor. So that's why that's the number 2 thing after brand that we try to highlight. And I think for most indulgent categories, with that being like ice cream, candy, cookies, like the flavor is probably the most important thing other than the brand.
Mm-hmm.
I think in categories where it's really functional, like I'm trying to think of something other than like supplements, but there are other categories where that might not be true. But for most food categories, I think it's flavor.
Mm-hmm.
And then for us, after that, what we try to highlight is dairy-free. So plant-based and dairy-free, because that is the huge differentiator between our brand versus what you're typically buying in ice cream, right? Like your Haagen-Dazs or Dryers or Breyers.
And it should be high enough that if, in my example of you looking for a particular brand and then flavor, and then for us case, plant-based versus dairy, it should be high enough in the hierarchy that if you're immediately your first kind of, you don't really care about brand, but you care about flavor, that's something that you immediately can recognize. But then also, if you're immediately trying to find what are all the non-dairy ice creams, because that's important to you, it should be very high up on the hierarchy so that you're able to immediately identify that.
Yeah, for sure. And so, for example, on our ice cream packaging, this is our Costco box of dipped crunchy peanut swirl, which is our bestseller.
And those on audio, it's just a big pink box that holds our ice cream bars. And so if you follow our kind of personal hierarchy, the first thing that should catch your eye is the brand. So that on this box is the big must love, obviously. Yeah. Then number 2 is flavor, and we do that 2 ways. One is from actual photography of the bar, like you can automatically identify maybe some characteristics in it, but obviously the words that are very large there, which is dipped peanut crunchy peanut bar.
Dipped crunchy peanut swirl.
You're giving me crap. You don't even know it. It's a really long flavor name.
It's a long flavor name.
And so that's number 2 for us. So that's obviously very identifiable. And then for us, number 3
would be dairy-free
or plant-based. So that's in these big call-outs on the side. That's like a button that we put on the packaging so that's immediately identifiable. So if you think about like ice cream brand, obviously we know mostly about ice cream packaging because that's what we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Companies that do dairy and non-dairy, they have to figure out ways of differentiating between dairy and non-dairy. So yeah. Whether it be by colors, some of them I know right off the bat, some like all their vegan ones are white backgrounds versus their flavors are all different colors. So you might not know right off the bat why there's a difference, but there's something in your brain that tells you, oh, this is there's something that differentiates this from everything else.
Yeah, because something that most people who shop at grocery stores don't realize about themselves, or people who even manufacture and sell food like we do might not realize, is that people, when they're shopping, they actually shop by color and shapes. They very much do not read.
What's the statistic that people on a grocery store list or grocery trip will read less, I think it was single digits of words.
Number of words.
So the next time you go grocery shopping, think about like how much are you actually reading the package versus just looking and getting cues from colors or looking at the pictures versus actually really reading. Obviously there's like a subset of people that are reading ingredient lists and really digging into all of those things, but that's few and far
Rare.
between. For most grocery shoppers, they're not reading in the store. So having a lot of text doesn't do you that much
Benefit.
service
Yeah.
on package.
Yeah.
I think one other thing specific to ice cream that makes it particularly difficult is that we have a door that separates the shopper from the product itself. So that's something that if you're in particular categories, you have to add that element in, right?
Yeah, that's for sure. And I think even for myself, it's like, really, does that door really matter that much? But it prevents people from like picking up your package to look at it like longer. And the doors often fog up, and all those little things really matter. And the reason why we like sweat the tiniest details about retail packaging is because for most small brands, this is literally like 90% of the time, or sorry, I'm like having trouble with my words right now, but 90% of the time you meet a brand for the first time is going to be on shelf, like not like this, or through a
Seeing an
podcast
ad.
or seeing an ad, because we're small brands and we don't have huge ad budgets. The first time you hear about a small brand or see it is going to be at the grocery store. So this little package, it's like 4 inches wide.
It has to do a lot of work for you.
Yeah, it has to do all the work for us, like communicate about us, the product, the brand, and everything that's also legally required, which there is a lot in terms of like the packaging. And so, when we worked at a big food company, I always thought like, oh, this is so annoying. We're like spending so much time on like this
the
little
smallest
piece.
details,
but-
or like the specific color.
But now that we're spending our own money, I realize that the packaging is doing 90% of the work for us. So it is worth sweating every tiny detail, even if as a consumer you might not immediately notice.
Yeah, but it's a lot of the stuff that is unintended or to the shopper, that actually we come with a lot of intention on. One other thing for our particular packaging, and specifically, lots of different food, is whether or not you are, one, going to see the product, and two, if you can't see it through, say, a window or something, the actual product, whether or not you choose to have a photo of it. So in earlier iterations of our packaging, we didn't have photos,
And why, Molly?
it's really expensive. But also, I think, if I think about earlier iterations of our packaging, our hierarchy was different.
Yeah.
So one of the major things is when we didn't have a oat baseline, we just had banana base, and we were very early in, like 2017. It was pretty novel to be an ice cream brand that was more focused on ingredients, and banana specifically being the key ingredient. For us, other than the brand, the number one thing was that you immediately knew that there were bananas in it. So for us, all our packaging was yellow, and we also had big pictures of bananas, like a big drawing of a banana. So, it's eye-catching, and then you also immediately recognize this has to do something with bananas. So that was our hierarchy in earlier iterations of the packaging, when also we didn't have non-banana flavors, but also we didn't have any brand recognition. So we really just had to lean in on people being interested in, this banana-based ice cream. But now that we switched, our packaging no longer is all yellow. Obviously, one of our flavors is yellow because it's the vanilla flavor. But the other ones, the color cue on packaging indicates flavor or a difference in flavor. And then also we wanted to bring more appetite appeal onto the packaging through a photograph.
Yeah.
So all our packaging has scoops of ice cream, their photos, actual photos, and then the bar box also has pictures, really beautiful pictures of our bars.
Can we talk about how hard it is to photograph ice cream though? Because if you didn't know, ice cream melts, and so there's like a very short window that you can take photos of ice cream. And the photographer we hired to do this was very talented, and they had like a whole crazy setup to do it, with like dry ice and like fake ice cream and real ice cream. And
they're pros.
Pros. They're like professional food photographers,
and they have
stylists.
experience with ice cream.
Yes. And so they had a whole setup for it. But when we do it for like social media, I think that's one of the reasons we feature the ice cream bars so much, is that it comes ready made in a shape that's easy. And but when you do scoops of ice cream, like
there's a lot of prep work you have to do. So basically you scoop the ice cream and then you have to stick it back in the freezer to let it set, but it also can't look frosted over, so there's things you have to do to the surface of the ice cream. It's all of that. So props to our marketing team that does beautiful photography for our social media and other I mean, I think it looks pretty professional.
Yeah.
When we do it in-house.
Yeah. I mean, they look so much better now than when I did them myself.
I think you still did a great job, but it was like also,
thanks.
I mean, we were in my kitchen usually, so it was like moving dumplings in the freezer to like make room for ice cream.
Like random scoops of ice cream on plates.
And then we also didn't want to waste it, so we'd like leave it there for the next time. It was a mess. So now we have an office and a dedicated freezer for
photo prop
our ice cream scoops. So yes, so we love having our ice cream scoops, but also something to think about is while ice cream obviously is very flavor driven, so every year we launch new ice cream flavors. Every time you have to pay someone else, because we can't do that in-house, is to pay them to take photographs for new packaging. So you know, it is an investment, but it's something that we think is important in our categories. It adds a lot to the packaging. It gives someone, especially for someone who hasn't tried the ice cream yet, it's like, oh, that looks delicious, I want to try it.
Yeah.
That's really the feeling we want to give someone who's looking at our packaging.
And in industry speak, that's called appetite appeal. The bright colors, the photos, that all adds to like it looking tasty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Hannah, do you know, like for our ice cream bars, there's an like bite that's out of it? How do they do that? Is it like someone taking a bite and then like making it perfectly cut, or is that in the post? How do they do that?
I'm sure that's their secret. But I saw like some of the behind the scenes, and they have a fake mold that like they use as kind of like a pattern to cut out the same bite in every
so it's
every
not
bar.
a person,
like a person
who's
going
like skilled ice cream biter.
No.
Okay.
Although what a great job.
I mean, we're professional ice cream biters.
Yeah, all we do is taste ice cream like for hours sometimes. Those days start really fun, but then they end kind of
like you feel sick.
Yeah, you feel sick.
So another option for other like non-frozen categories, I'd say, is to have some kind of window. Like I mean, our sprinkles have this cute window that you can see the actual sprinkles in them, and then a lot of other food companies do that type of thing. I'm like, specifically, I'm thinking about bacon, like why? But like they have a window to see like the layers of fat. But I mean, I don't know. I guess for some people that's like very appetizing. Instead of having like a photograph of like cooked bacon. So it's a choice for an ingredient, whether you're showing it pre or post.
Tortilla chips. There are clear bag tortilla chips. Sorry, I was trying to think of like a like fresh, you know, like something that's more packaged.
Chips.
Yeah, chips come in clear bags. I can't think of.
But a lot of other chips, like most potato chips,
come in opaque bags.
Opaque, and a lot of them don't have pictures of them because they already assume you know what they're gonna look like.
Yeah.
Like unless there's something really specific about that potato chip, maybe the thickness or the texture or something.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to, because they're also gonna look all the same. Like
it's true.
That's the other thing you have to think about is when you're merchandising all your ice cream next to each other or all your chip bags next to each other, what are they going to look like on shelf? You want it to be kind of a cohesive look, and that's what you call a brand block, to really catch your eye on, wow, what is this thing that's catching my eye that kind of looks all the same, but there's something different per flavor.
Yeah. So like how colorful it is. I mean, these usually have lids we're using them as cups
Cups.
right now, so they don't. But
even like the scoops next to each other,
they're the
make
same
this
shape.
kind of nice pattern.
Yeah.
And there's really cool things of different brands that do things that like each
Connect.
connect each box, so when they're merchandised together it looks really cool. So all those things are like the nerdy like design things that add a lot that you don't even notice. I'd
Yeah,
say.
I guess CPG nerds really appreciate it,
Mhm.
and then general consumers don't even know that they're noticing it, but they do.
But they do,
yeah.
like unintentionally. So the next time you're at the grocery store, like look at what you purchase and maybe take a look at what really you love about your most favorite brands. See what their hierarchy is, what calls to you, and maybe look for something you haven't tried before, like maybe a different non-dairy ice cream that comes in delicious flavors, and give them a try.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, we're short on the chit chat and long on the actual technical stuff today, but this is actually like an important thing. So there's a lot to talk about. I mean, it's like a little bit nerdy
Yeah.
and technical, but people who are launching new food brands would
Hopefully this
really
is
want to
helpful.
know.
Yeah. So if you have any specific questions about packaging, feel free to email us or DM us on Instagram
Mhm.
at mustloveco.